Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buccaneers Daily. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the draft because we have free agency just a couple of weeks away, and sooner rather than later, before you know it, the NFL draft will be going down, and this is a very critical draft, a very critical offseason for what's looking more and more like a rebuilding Tampa Bay Buccaneers squad. So I saw an article from NFL.com, Daniel Jeremiah, and he was predicting that the Buccaneers will select Bijan Robinson out of Texas with the 19th pick because he will quote-unquote take pressure off whoever is under center. Now, it is widely being speculated and assumed right now that Bijan is the best running back in this year's draft class. Now, there's a lot of talk that's been going on, especially in the last couple of years, that running backs are expendable and, you don't need to pay them lump sums of money unless they are franchise-altering players or just kind of, this is a borderline Hall of Famer, this is a franchise-altering running back. For example, last year, no running back was taken in the first round. Now, unfortunately, the Buccaneers, they have a lot of needs. There's a lot of needs, specifically at the quarterback position. Unfortunately, at 19, I don't think any of the top QBs are going to be falling back that much. So if you've been watching this channel all offseason, essentially, I've been a big proponent of if you need a bridge starter, get a bridge starter. This team is still very good. They're extremely under the cap, so if you're going to get a bridge starter, try and tweak what you need to tweak and keep all of your studs, right? Keep all your playmakers on both sides of the ball. But if they were to decide to not get a bridge starter, a guy like Derek Carr will not be a Buccaneer, I will guarantee you that. But, if they weren't to go out and get a guy like Jimmy G, for example, I think Kyle Trask should be given the keys because next year's draft class is extremely loaded. Seriously, it is extremely loaded, and if Kyle Trask does not have a good season, well, the good news with that is you had this year's draft class, right, continue to develop last year as well. So your young talent continues to develop and progress, and if Kyle Trask doesn't do good and the Buccaneers don't do good, well, look at that. You have a top draft pick in next year's class, and you're going to get a superstar quarterback. So Bijan Robinson in the first round at 19, I'm very indifferent about. To be honest, if I had to make a decision right now, should they do this, should they not do this, I'd probably lean more towards no. Now, Robinson had a great collegiate career. In the last 2 years, he had plus 1,000-yard rushing seasons. All right. In 2021, he rushed for almost 1,200 yards. He had 11 touchdowns, and he can also catch the ball. He had 26 catches for 295 yards and 4 scores. And then this past season, he had an even better year. Ran for 1,580 yards, 18 touchdowns, caught 19 passes for 314 yards and 2 scores. Some comparisons, or NFL comparisons I should say, are Saquon Barkley. I've also seen some CMC. So it's pretty enticing. It's a pretty enticing offer. Now, what makes this interesting is Leo along with Rashad. Those are the two guys at the running back position for Tampa Bay. Now, Leonard Fournette's contract, I would say get rid of him immediately. All right, he had a bad year last year, and he doesn't move the needle to me. Even if the Bucs still had Tom Brady, I would still say save that money, make that cut, and free it up. All right, so that leaves us to Rachaad White, who is very interesting. He's a rookie, or was a rookie, out of Arizona State University, and he had some really impressive games, specifically that Browns game he had in Germany, that Seattle Seahawks game. He did good, especially when he was a starter, and we saw towards the later part of the season and even in the playoffs, Rachaad White kind of became their go-to running back. In that game against the Dallas Cowboys, he had 7 rushes for 41 yards. That's almost a 6 yards per carry rate. And he also had 4 catches for 36 yards. So that makes this decision a little bit more difficult as well. Because, once again, the Buccaneers have a lot of flaws. And regardless if they're going to get if they're going to get Robinson, or if they're going to draft an offensive player, or they're going to trade up in the draft, or they're going to draft a defensive player, whatever it is, the one thing I'm emphasizing for this Buccaneers team in this offseason, free agency, draft included, is get younger and get more athletic. I want athleticism and I want youth. All right? I want potential. And Rachaad White had an interesting rookie season where he finished off the year with not bad stats whatsoever, but the year started a little bit shaky because if you guys watched my channel last offseason, I was really big on Rachaad White. Like, I was huge. Once they drafted him, I was huge on him. He had 129 rushes for 481 yards and a touchdown. That's just 3.7 yards per carry. But he had a phenomenal season catching the football. 50 catches, 290 yards. So he can catch and he can run. And like I said, there were some games this past season where I think he showed us a lot of his potential, like he did in that Cowboys game, that he's could be or is a starting caliber running back. Didn't end the year anything crazy, just 15 yards against Atlanta, just 22 yards against Carolina, just 36 and 38 yards against Arizona and Cincinnati in the last couple of games. But he had that stretch once he was getting those starts, 22 rushes, 105 yards against Seattle, 14 rushes, 64 yards against Cleveland, against San Francisco in that game that we all are forgetting about because it was horrible, 13 rushes, 56 yards. So there were plenty of flashes of potential, but I don't think it's enough that I'm imagining Tampa Bay is like, you know what, let's just give him the keys. He's running back 1. We're getting rid of Leo. We're going to draft a backup running back for him, or maybe sign a low-end free agent, a guy who can help fill in as a starter if something were to happen to Rachaad. But it's an interesting situation. Like I said, we're getting closer and closer to the draft and free agency, and a lot of mocks are coming out. I've seen a bunch of mock drafts where the Buccaneers trade up for a guy like Will Levis. I hate that move. I absolutely hate it. I think trading up for Will Levis is probably the worst thing the Buccaneers could do in the offseason. And, Bijan it's an interesting move. It could pay dividends, and it also could just not be the best move, right? That's it for today. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Rachaad White and Bijan Robinson, so let me know down below. But as always, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. Beautiful sunny day here in Southwest Florida, and I'll see you guys later.